Hello, beautiful people. I have no idea how we've gotten to the month of November, but here we are. And I'm going to chat with you about everything I plan to read this November. There's something about November that makes me want to reach for historical fiction. So you'll see a lot of historical fiction in the mix here, but we're starting with a fantasy. Again, who am I? I picked up The Will of the Many the last time I was at Chapters, and I don't know. I have a feeling that it's gonna just work for me. The woman at the till said that this was like an adult, sophisticated version of Hunger Games, and I am here for that. This is about a man named V or Viz, and he lives in a dystopian kind of world where people can take other people's energy, I believe. There is now a hierarchy. He is at the very bottom of the hierarchy, but before this came into being, he was, I think, some sort of king or something along those lines, a prince, what have you. Now he is young. He's, I think, 17 when we meet him here, and he is working at a jail and trying to keep himself under wraps. No one really knows who he is. He is an orphan, but he is whisked away. Apparently, I haven't gotten to that part yet. He's whisked away to a school. He's been sent to an academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart. He's there for revenge for the killing and murder of his family. Sounds really good. So I have started this. I'm 42 pages in and I'm liking it. It's incredibly dark, but I am liking it. Who ever thought that I would read fantasy? I just don't read a ton of it. And I realize that I have very specific kinds of fantasy that work for me, and others I don't connect with. So one fantasy book at a time. Another book that I had started reading, but I ended up reading something else and put this down, is Tracy Chevalier's new book, The Glassmaker. This is set in Venice in 1486, and we follow different families that are glass blowers, and their trade is very much kept under wraps. They don't talk to one another about how they do the work that they do, and we meet a young girl. Girls also are not supposed to do this trade, but when the father, the head of the family of this glassmaker company, dies, his daughter decides to step up and learn, and she has another woman that she looks up to from another family who is a glassblower, who, this is very rare, and so she, I believe, learns from her how to do the skill. And Tracy Chevalier is just such a wonderful writer. She writes about women in history doing ordinary things in extraordinary times, and I am always here for her. I have book 3 in the Cazalet Chronicles that I want to read. This is Confusion by Elizabeth Jane Howard. Now we are right in the midst of the war. World War II has started. They're in the midst of it. We follow a family just dealing with that. We follow 3 brothers, one of whom is in the war. The other 2 are running the family business along with their father, a very aged father. And then there is a sister who is at home. And then we follow the daughters of the 3 brothers. And that's really who we follow through this. They're either teenagers or younger than that. When you first meet them, they're all children. And you watch them growing up as the war happens around them. Now they are in the English countryside, and so they are relatively safe from the bombs, but yeah, the bombs are dropping on London, and I can't wait to find out how they're all doing. I will say this is like an insane cast of characters. There are so many characters in this book. I know them now. In the first book, there's like a list of the characters at the beginning of the book, and you are grateful for that. Let me just tell you, you are so grateful because it's slightly overwhelming. But yeah, I plan to read this one in November if I can. And then I'm not sure which book I'm going to choose between these two books. They're from the same author. There's The Kite Runner, which is like beloved by many. And then there's 1,000 Splendid Suns, and I just don't know which I'm going to read. I believe these both take place in Afghanistan. I believe they're both devastating, but I don't know too much more about them than that. I just know they're going to devastate me, and I am kind of interested in reading some historical fiction that, I don't know, comes from different places in the world. I tend to be very like English focused, England focused, maybe a little bit of America. And there's a whole world out there with a whole history. So yeah, I'm thinking of trying these out. Next is The Pupil of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. Barry got this for me, and I think I'm going to like it. This follows a rare book expert who comes across a book that was rescued during the Bosnian War. And this book is one of the earliest Jewish volumes ever to be illuminated with images. And she discovers within the pages of this book several tiny artifacts. We've got an insect wing fragment, wine stains, salt crystals, a white hair, and she starts to explore the mysteries surrounding this book and how it was made. I don't know, but it does sound really wonderful, so I'd like to read that. And then last, but certainly not least, is The Lion Women of Tehran. This is a book about Iran in 1950s. We follow a girl named Ellie. She lives a life of luxury, and then her family suddenly loses all of that with the death of her father. And she loses touch with a friend, and then years later they are brought back together. Now, Iran at this time had a very different scenario. It was a very different vibe than it is now. And I believe it was the 60s and 70s that there was a revolution. I'm going to put those in quotes because it was very like radical religious revolution. And a lot of women lost a lot of rights. And so I am very curious about this book, very much so. I've been actually, with the war, I've been just trying to learn more about the history of all of these places that seem to be involved with it. So I have been like trying to learn about the history of Iran, which is very sad. And then also the history of Lebanon and obviously Palestine and Israel and all of that. And so I sometimes find learning about history and learning about a country through fiction is one of the best ways to learn. Like, obviously you need to go and check like, hey, did that really happen? But there's just something that you can absorb more. And it's also very easy to like, I don't know if you feel this, it's easy to just think of people as just numbers when you're just talking about a theoretical amount of people who were killed or had their rights revoked or what have you. But when you read fiction, you are suddenly walking in their shoes and they're suddenly your friend, and you just care a lot more. And I truly do think that reading fiction makes you a more empathetic person. Oh, there's Winnie snoring about that. She's bored by this. Excuse me. Sorry about that, Winnie. Where is she? I don't even know where she is. In any case, my dog is bored by this conversation. Maybe you are too at this point. I'm gonna wrap this up. Let me know in the comments below, what are you going to read this November. I will talk with you soon. Bye!